evening and thank you for joining us today at HENCA Tokyo 2024. My name is Mariko Okoshi, will be your MC today. This conference is being hosted by the Tokyo Metropolitan Government with the goal of further promoting the establishment of an international hydrogen supply chain and related technology development. Influential speakers from various countries, including the governor of Tokyo, will give us speeches to share their wisdom and experience to accelerate the social implementation of green hydrogen. We will begin with opening remarks from Tokyo Governor Ms. Yuriko Koike. Now, Governor Koike, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Koike Yuriko, the Governor of Tokyo. And thank you very much for participating in the HENCA Tokyo 2024 Hydrogen Energy Conference for Action. HENCA in Japanese means change. So we are now starting to change in front of the climate crisis. Now, unprecedented heavy rains and life-threatening extreme heat remind us that there's no time to waste in addressing the climate crisis. At the same time, the global energy situation is turmoil. One of the key solutions to ensuring energy security and achieving decarbonization is green hydrogen. Efforts to promote its widespread use are underway throughout the world. And in Japan this year, the Act for the Hydrogen Society Promotion Act was enacted. Taking action now will give us the momentum needed to change HENCA, the future. Today's theme is accelerating the social implementation of green hydrogen. Now let us transform these lively discussions into concrete action and collaborate to create real change in society. And let me conclude my opening remarks with the hope that the conference will be of benefit to everyone, and let's bring HENCA change. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Governor Koike. Next, Mr. Francesco Le Camera, Director General of the International Renewable Energy Agency, will deliver the keynote speech via video.
Dear Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's my great honor to join you today at the Tokyo Metropolitan Government International Conference on Hydrogen, the HENCA Tokyo 2024. This event brings together thought leaders and industry experts to shape hydrogen's role in the HANA energy landscape collectively. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the Governor of Tokyo, Her Excellency Yuriko Koike, for the invitation to this gathering. Events like this are essential to reflect on an emerging topic that was once met with skepticism: the role of green hydrogen in our global energy transition. Just 5 years ago, doubts clouded its potential, deemed too costly, immature, and perhaps unnecessary. Yet, as we stand here today, our collective understanding has deepened, and our perspectives have shifted profoundly. We understand green hydrogen is available and versatile, but not infinite. This realization has led us to a critical consensus. Green hydrogen should not be dissipated in sectors that can be directly electrified. The future of hydrogen cars appear limited to a few applications, and residential heating is better served by heat pumps and direct renewable energy sources. We understood that green hydrogen is meant for the hard-to-abate sectors, where competition with the electric counterpart is limited. However, we also understood that we should not underplay the complexity of hydrogen projects and that many challenges lie ahead. Among the most significant hurdles are the immaturity of technologies at scale, energy and hydrogen losses during production and transport, and the need for robust safety measures. Today, we produce less than 1 megaton of clean hydrogen across the globe, against the more than 500 megatons needed by 2050 to meet the net zero targets. We have a few hundred megawatts of electrolyzer, against the more than 5 terawatts needed by 2050. Furthermore, the existing infrastructure is incompatible with hydrogen, requiring new investment in pipelines, storage, and transportation networks. Costs remain high, with the result of the recent European Hydrogen Bank auction showing a levelized cost ranging between 5.8 and 13.5 euros per kilogram, still too high to be competitive with the fossil fuel counterparts. Despite ongoing advancements in technology and infrastructure, the price disparity continues to hinder green hydrogen's ability to compete effectively in the energy market. The demand for green hydrogen has yet to reach the scale necessary to drive widespread development. In addition, we face issues such as a lack of suitable end uses, where many sectors are not yet ready to integrate hydrogen into their operations fully. The first mover disadvantage also looms large, as companies hesitate to invest heavily without assurances of market stability or profitability. Regulatory frameworks remain unprepared to support this energy transition effectively. Despite these daunting challenges, targeted actions can be implemented. Regulatory measures are needed to create an enabling environment. Financial incentives, such as grants, fiscal support, and loans, are essential to stimulate early investment. Mechanisms like auction have a key role in making green hydrogen more competitive, as evidenced by recent results. In this regard, IRENA will soon publish a guide to design green hydrogen auctions. Cities like Tokyo have a role to play in this transition. As large urban centers, they not only generate substantial energy demand, but can also shape policies that encourage hydrogen adoption. Hydrogen valleys can be created around cities, where stable demand from industry is added to demand from distributed consumers like buses, reducing the cost of hydrogen by economies of scale. By leveraging the influence of cities, these hydrogen hubs can become catalysts for broader regional and global efforts, setting the stage for coordinated action across borders. In addition, international cooperation will also be essential. Organizations like IRENA, in partnership with cities and the private sector, can lead the way in fostering cross-border collaboration, matchmaking demand, finance, producers, cities, and policymakers. While green hydrogen faces many challenges, the path forward is clear. The energy transition is a necessity, and green hydrogen is part of it. Together, we must unlock the full potential of this transformative technology. We can rewrite the future of energy, and cities like Tokyo are leading the charge in demonstrating that green hydrogen is not just an option, but a necessity for our global decarbonization efforts. As IRENA, I want to strongly reaffirm our unwavering commitment to supporting our members and relevant stakeholders gathered here today. We stand fully prepared to guide and assist you on the critical pathway toward an energy transition powered by renewable energy, ensuring a sustainable and resilient future for all. Thank you. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lacamera. We will now move on to the panel discussion and the introduction of corporate initiatives. The theme is accelerating the social implementation of green hydrogen. Now the panelists, please take the stage. Introduce today's panelists. Ms. Yuriko Koike, Governor of Tokyo, Japan. Today's online participant, Mr. Anthony Lin, Secretary of the Department of Climate Change, Energy, the Environment and Water, New South Wales Government, Australia. Dr. Lana Saria, Advisor to the Minister for Natural Resources Economics, Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources of the Republic of Indonesia. Mr. Marcus Exenberger, Executive Director, H2 Global Foundation. In addition, Mr. Sanjeev Lamba, Co-Chair of the Hydrogen Council and Chief Executive Officer of LIND, as well as His Excellency Mr. Ricardo Rojas, Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of the Republic of Chile, will also introduce their initiatives via video message. Also on stage are representatives of 4 companies who will give presentations on the initiatives after the first round of the panel discussion. Professor Paul Simshauser, Chief Executive, Powerlink, Queensland. Mr. Craig Carmody, Chief Executive Officer, Port of Newcastle. Mr. Yoshinori Kanehana, Chairman, Kawasaki Heavy Industries. Mr. Hideaki Tanaka, Operating Officer and General Manager, Hydrogen Business Department, ENEOS Corporation. And this panel will be moderated by Mr. Eiji Ohira, Strategy Architect, Fuel Cell and Hydrogen Technology Office, New Energy and Industrial Technology Development Organization, Japan. Now, Mr. Ohira, please.
Thank you, Mariko-san. And good evening, and distinguished panelists, speakers, all the participants. I'm Yohiro Nedo. I'm the video moderator today. I'm very excited to be here to hear about global perspective from the world leaders. So let's start with the theme of the accelerating social implementation of the green hydrogens. The theme of the first round of the panel discussion is initiatives of each cities and organizations. So, and I would like to ask to the first panelist, Governor Koike. And Tokyo has set an emission target half by 2030 and zero by 2050. It's an ambitious but challenging target. And also, Tokyo Metropolitan Government setting the leading edge and the measures to address the challenging goals. So please tell us about the significance and the vision of the promoting the use, utilize of the hydrogen, as well as direction of your initiatives.
Thank you very much, Ohira-san, for taking initiative to moderate this panel. First of all, in order to promote a deeper understanding of hydrogen and stimulate business investment, the Tokyo Metropolitan Government, TMG, has formulated the Tokyo Hydrogen Vision. And this vision outlines the future Tokyo, as you can see, Tokyo of a future Tokyo of 2050, where green hydrogen is fully utilized and highlights the direction of initiatives toward the milestone of 2030. And we consider green hydrogen as a cornerstone for achieving decarbonization and are committed to advancing its social implementation. And the keywords are three keywords. First, production. Second, transportation. Third, use. So the first is production. Tokyo has initiated the development of its first large-scale green hydrogen production facility on its land in the coastal area. And we also support private businesses and other organizations in the introduction of green hydrogen production equipment. And as part of its efforts to transport hydrogen, now the transportation, transporting hydrogen, Tokyo has established a public-private partnership council to build a supply system, including pipelines for using green hydrogen imported from overseas. And this council will draw up a future roadmap. And we also support companies and other organizations that develop transportation and storage technologies, promoting the social implementation of hydrogen. As part of our initiatives to use hydrogen, you are watching those pictures. We have approximately 120 fuel cell buses running around the city and 100 fuel cell trucks operating in Tokyo. And we will expand the use of hydrogen in the commercial sector, including garbage trucks and ground support equipment, which can effectively harness hydrogen energy. And at the Tokyo, look at the picture in the middle. That is the Tokyo 2020 Olympic and Paralympic Games. During the Games, hydrogen was used in a variety of ways, and including as fuel for the Olympic cauldron. At home to the Olympic Village, Harumi is the name of the area where the Olympic cauldron is located. And home to the Olympic Village, Harumi has been reborn as an advanced city by leveraging this legacy. It now serves as a model for the daily use of hydrogen energy, supplying hydrogen to its blocks and generating electricity through pipelines. So this is the framework of TMG hydrogen use and transportation and use. Sorry. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Koike-san. It's quite exciting the activities. Well, next, and I have a question for the Mr. Lin, Secretary of the Department of Climate Change Energy and Environment and Water, New South Wales Government, Australia. In February 2024, your state signed MOU with the Tokyo Metropolitan Government to promote a social implementation of hydrogen. In addition, a strategy has been formulated to make in the Southwest, New South Wales a major hydrogen hub in the world. Please tell us about the policy on the green hydrogen as well as the progress of the project within your state.
Thank you for having me here tonight. And can I acknowledge Governor Koike and thank you for your invitation. Can I also acknowledge the long-standing sister state relationship that Tokyo and New South Wales have had for many years and which we celebrated in Sydney earlier this year. New South Wales is committed to developing a green hydrogen industry to both decarbonise our state and continue our reputation as a trusted energy exporter to partners like Japan. Our state has legislated ambitious targets to reduce our emissions, 50% by 2030, 70% by 2035, and net zero by 2050. We're implementing the electricity infrastructure roadmap, which is crucial in this effort. We're bringing $32 billion of private investment to transform our electricity system into one that's affordable, clean, reliable, and based on renewable energy. And New South Wales has world-leading renewable energy potential, which will ultimately support a green hydrogen industry. The roadmap provides a framework to accelerate investment in renewable energy that will decarbonise the grid and unlock major new opportunities for renewable fuels, including hydrogen. We have declared 5 renewable energy zones. The first renewable energy zone is expected to reach financial close in the coming months. This project will deliver an initial 4.5 gigawatts of transmission capacity with planned expansion to 6 gigawatts in stage 2. Renewable fuels such as green hydrogen can extend our abundant renewable electricity resources further. They provide a pathway to both full decarbonisation of New South Wales and to a new export industry that will service the clean energy needs of key trading partners like Japan. When our renewable fuel strategy is released next year, it will build on our existing $3 billion New South Wales hydrogen strategy and furthers our ambition to grow a thriving green hydrogen industry. Since 2021, we've been implementing the hydrogen strategy, launching key initiatives like the New South Wales Hydrogen Hubs, with over 109 million awarded to co-locate producers and users of green hydrogen, reducing cost and fostering innovation. We've also made available electricity discounts for green hydrogen producers. These incentives are valued at up to $1.5 billion and are unique to New South Wales. Our state is also home to Australia's only legislated hydrogen target under the Renewable Fuel Scheme. The scheme launches in 2026 and provides a market-based certificate system to incentivise green hydrogen production and uptake of green hydrogen. Together, these efforts work toward a thriving green hydrogen industry in New South Wales. It will ensure that we meet our net zero targets while capturing new economic opportunities. We also see a major opportunity to support Japan's energy transformation by exporting green hydrogen and renewable fuels, strengthening our economic and our environmental ties. Events like HENCA Tokyo and the MOU between New South Wales and Tokyo governments signed in February are important parts of building those ties and ensuring that both regions benefit from a sustainable and secure energy future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And your policy and initiative and a huge impact to the future and green hydrogen market. And next, I would like to hear from the Dr. Salier, advisor to the Minister for Natural Resource Economics, Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources of Republic of Indonesia. Dr. Salier, Indonesia has formulated national hydrogen strategy, and it's working with the Japanese company to develop the cost-competitive and viable green hydrogen project. Okay, please tell us about the government, Indonesian government's plans and policies on the social implementation of green hydrogen.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Ms. Governor and distinguished speaker, gents, guests, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for HENCA for invite us, Republic Indonesia, to this forum, and thank you for invite me to this presentation. Indonesia's energy landscape is currently still dominated by fossil fuels, especially coal, oil, and natural gas, which supply most of the country's energy needs. Coal, as the main energy source for power generation, is supported by abundant availability and relatively low production costs, while oil and gas also play an important role in the economy and national energy security. Dependence on fossil fuels has negative impacts, especially on the environment and society. In the other side, Indonesia has abundance of new and renewable energy potential, amounting to almost 3.7 terawatt. By December of 2023, about 30.1 gigawatt of new renewable energy capacity has been installed. However, that means only 0.3% of total new renewable energy potential has been utilized. Currently, Indonesia is entering an energy transition to replace fossil energy resources with more sustainable ones, including the use of hydrogen. With the high resources of renewable energy, Indonesia can potentially become a key player in producing green hydrogen worldwide. Next, please. As a beginning step in developing of hydrogen, Indonesia has developed a national hydrogen strategy. This document has been launched in December 2023. The main objective in hydrogen utilization is to establish a hydrogen economy that contributes to the energy transition and plays an essential role in decarbonizing the global energy system. Indonesia will go to the 3 pillars strategy to utilize hydrogen. Namely, Indonesia will reduce its dependence on fossil fuels to ensure its energy sovereignty and security. Indonesia will progress toward decarbonization target by developing a domestic hydrogen market, and also Indonesia will export the hydrogen into the global hydrogen market and hydrogen derivative market by leveraging the uniqueness as an archipelago country. It means developing Europe hydrogen. In addition, we have also established Hydrogen Technical Committee that is mirroring to hydrogen technology and fuel cell. 3 Indonesian National Standard, or SNI, has been developed. They are hydrogen properties, hydrogen safety, and general requirement of hydrogen refueling station. We have conducted a green hydrogen supply chain feasibility study to prepare the commercialization of transportation sector in 2030. On the regulation side, we are developing academic paper to support our proposal for updating new standard business field classification, or KBLI. It means KBLI code of hydrogen. and also to support developing government regulation for hydrogen. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Saria. I believe that Indonesia has good potential to be the largest in the hydrogen and the leading hydrogen country from the demand side and also the supply side. And also, they expect the new capital, Nusantara, gonna be make the hydrogen capital, something like that. Anyway, and I would like to hear from the Mr. Axenberger, and Executive Director of ETSO Global Foundation. ETSO Global is working to establish an effective market for clean hydrogen from the both supply and the demand side. Please tell us about your effort in expanding the global green hydrogen market and the status of the latest action and to promote global energy transitions.
First of all, thank you very much for having me here. Governor Koike, thank you very much for the support given from your side. We signed in January our first cooperation agreement. We are cooperating with your committed team in a very, very trustful and in a very good manner, and I appreciate it very much. First of all, thanks for that. Allow me to say a few words about, we're always talking about a market. There is no market. There is no market for green hydrogen outside. We need to establish, we need to create the market. Just to give you a few figures, latest data from Bloomberg, 1,786 MOUs, LOIs are signed worldwide. Just a few of them reached FID. So we are talking about initiatives, but we are not talking about real projects. We have to overcome this chicken and egg problem why nobody is investing in these plants. We have to make them bankable. It was mentioned already, and Governor Koike is in that particular manner, she made it clear, if we really want to reach our Paris goals, if we really want to fight against the climate change, we have to do it now. Just to give you a few figures, just 1 gigawatt of electrolyzer capacity is installed worldwide. To reach the 2030 goals, we need 590 gigawatts. So that means 590 times more within a few years. So we have to overcome these chicken and egg problem. And how to do that? We have to create transparency. For all markets you know the price. Nobody can tell you worldwide the price for green hydrogen or green hydrogen derivatives. So what we really need is transparency. What we need is price signals. We need to create liquidity. We have to have the certainty provided by the governments in regards of regulation, in regards of reducing risks, and so on. This is what we need to establish a market and then to ramp up this market. H2 Global is the front runner in that particular manner. We established a so-called double auction mechanism, and we are doing so, and we are providing these services now for different governments. Governments from all over the world provided already more than $6 billion US dollars to H2 Global to run these auctions on their behalf. And this is what we are currently doing. The last auction we finalized, it was a few weeks ago, it was 2 months ago, sorry. And the winner of this auction was a consortium established in Egypt. They will produce now green ammonia and they will transport it to Germany and to Europe. The price is very competitive. We are talking about 811 euros. This is much more, or it's much cheaper than the prices announced by the European Hydrogen Bank. So these are the first steps we need to do, and we need to do that jointly. Governments, the industry, initiatives to overcome these problems and to really establish a market. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You are updated for the examination. Well, there are a lot of things we must do in front of us. Anyway, thank you very much. At the end of the first round of the panel discussion, we will now hear the video message from the Mr. Sanjeev Lamber, and the co-chair of the Hydrogen Council, CEO of Linde. And Hydrogen Council is a kind of the, association of the global hydrogen leading and companies, and activity working to promote splitting out hydrogen energies. And listen as Mr. Lamber gave his view of the latest development in the global hydrogen economy and the hydrogen trend in 2024.
Good morning. My name is Sanjeev Lamba, CEO of Linde PLC and co-chair of the Hydrogen Council. I would have preferred to have been there with you in Tokyo today, but due to schedule conflicts, I'm unable to make the trip to Japan this time. Let me start off by thanking the Tokyo Metropolitan Government for inviting me to participate in this forum. Supporting events like this is crucial to building actionable momentum on the transition to clean energy, and I congratulate you on this initiative. I also want to take a moment to greet my fellow panelists, who will be engaging with you on what I'm sure will be an insightful discussion after this video, which is why I'll keep this video short. I think we all here share the same belief in the role of hydrogen that it can play in the energy transition. And we also know that there's still a long way to go before we can fully harness that potential. We're at a turning point in history, a time where industry and governments have jointly taken on the mission of rewiring the world's energy system to significantly reduce harmful emissions. The key to success is quite simple in theory, but sometimes hard to implement. It's collaboration. We need to think and act beyond borders, engaging in an open dialogue, leveraging our shared knowledge, technologies, and infrastructures, building regulatory frameworks that enable the transition and allow for projects to materialize. Let's join forces in designing a global hydrogen economy that drives decarbonization, unlocks sustainable economic growth, and creates opportunities for development and jobs for people around the world. This is too large of a puzzle for any one individual company, government, or country to solve on its own. We must do it together. In the past few years, we've seen encouraging developments in this field. According to the latest Hydrogen Insights report, global clean hydrogen projects reached FID have grown from 102 in 2020, representing about $10 billion, to 434 projects in 2024, totaling some $75 billion in committed capital. That means a 7-fold increase in just 4 years. So we are seeing the market begin to mature. The hydrogen momentum is starting to materialize in the advancement of real projects and being less cluttered by what I call hype projects. But there are some substantial challenges too. Our data shows that regulatory uncertainty and macroeconomic headwinds like inflation, interest rates, geopolitical crisis, supply chain constraints, and higher than anticipated renewable energy prices are all contributing to project delays. So what's next? To stay on track for net zero, we estimate that an 8-fold increase of committed capital is required until 2030, compared to the current investment of $75 billion past FID. Addressing this challenge calls for a greater effort, jointly by government and industry. In the next 2 years, we need greater regulatory clarity and certainty, support for demand drivers, and of course, development of midstream infrastructure. If we're able to achieve our shared net zero ambition, this all needs to happen. Let me close off by citing a Japanese proverb that speaks of resilience and of course, staying the course. When you fall 7 times, get up the 8th. The path that we have ahead of us is not easy. But if we work together, across sectors, across borders, we will succeed. Thank you. Have a very successful conference, and I hope to see all of you sometime in the future.
So thank you. And we find that it's a global initiative and expanding very rapidly in the past few years. So now we hear from the industries that are promoting the effort to produce green hydrogen and build an international supply chains. First, I would like to invite Professor Sims Hauser, CEO of Powering Queensland. Powering Queensland is working for a renewable electricity grid, and which is a very important infrastructure for producing green hydrogen as well as green hydrogen. Professor Simmons, the floor is yours.
I needed power as well. Thanks very much, Governor, for the invitation. It's lovely to be here. I thought what I'd spend a little bit of time talking about is the groundwork required to make sure that a green hydrogen industry will be successful, and that starts with making sure you've got a very strong electricity grid with good renewable resources and a lot of them. My background, I'm a bit of a lifer in the electricity industry, and my job is running Powerlink Queensland, which is the state electricity grid in that state. There's a quick diagram of where Queensland is, the maroon state as we call ourselves. There's just one thing that's worthwhile calling out on this particular chart, and that is the rooftop solar PV. So Queensland has the highest take-up rate of rooftop solar in the world, and it wasn't that long ago that it was a very, very expensive commodity. But with good policy frameworks, with good markets, and a good fit and fighting industry, great success can be achieved. And so in a state like Queensland, where we've got a maximum demand of 11,000 megawatts, we have 6,000 megawatts sitting on household rooftops right now. It's a huge success story, so breakthrough technologies are quite achievable. This is the Queensland State Grid. One of the things that we're very focused on at the moment is making sure we develop renewable energy zones and start to really scale up the renewable investments. So we have three that are, two of which are energised, the third will be energised later this year. We also need to keep working away on those renewable grids and connecting up our statewide network with the incredible renewable resources that we have in our state. If you look at that, the western red dot there, there's over 30,000 megawatts of wind resources just in that location alone, and there's an endless amount of solar in a state like Queensland. We're known as the Sunshine State. It's sunny 300 days of the year. The coal plants in our eastern grid are scheduled to close, and so there's a very fast-moving market to replace them to make sure we hit those targets. 5,000 megawatts exited in the first 10 years, and over the next 10 years we can see another 17,000 exiting. And that's leading to a situation where we will have a power system that's running pretty much entirely on intermittent renewables, and that means it's going to spill a lot. And I'll just walk you through what that looks like. Here is just a very simple picture of hourly electricity demand in the state of Queensland in the year 2035. And I've just picked out the month of March, so the 31 days. And here's what a well-balanced set of renewable resources would look like. And you can see here very clearly there's lots of days where there's way too much renewable energy production, and it needs to find a home. And of course, one of the most obvious homes is, of course, electrolyzers and hydrogen. There are, of course, days where we have shortages as well, and we need to work out how to balance our grid. So if you think about what this all looks like in real time, there's what the run of wind looks like on an hourly basis in Queensland of about 12,000 megawatts of wind farms. Our solar, as you'd expect, is pretty reliable. You see it running every day. We then have our pumped hydros in generation mode, a bunch of batteries and some backup gas turbines, which ultimately are going to need to be running on hydrogen in their own right. And you can see there historically we'd be planning for a network with the red line there being the demand. And on the pumping cycle, you can see here the pumped hydros in pumping mode, the recharging of the batteries, and measured on the right-hand side axis there is the state of charge of all those storages. And you can see that even in a power system as blessed as Queensland, we will have episodes where we've got low wind, low solar, and we've run out of our storages. And that's, of course, where our own use for hydrogen will need to come in at some point in the future, supplemented, of course, by natural gas in the short term. And we're having to build networks for a much bigger power system than we have in the past. Just over the last handful of years, and I'm talking as short as 7 years, we've developed about 9,000 megawatts of renewable projects. There's 26,000 megawatts of projects trying to make their way to financial close as of last month. And in the inquiry stage, over 100,000 megawatts of wind and solar and storage projects. So and this is for a system that only needs 10 gigawatts for itself on the busiest day of the year. So we're a system that has an enormous potential for surplus. And of course, as we've been doing for a very long time, one of the most important trades we have with Japan is our energy resources. So we're just migrating from a couple of sources in the past to new in the future. This is just the forward pipeline. And again, just to emphasise that point, those first two bars there, the red lines just give a sense of what the domestic market needs, but the actual potential projects in our state are just multiples of anything that could ever be used domestically for its own rights. And that, of course, gives you that supply capacity to be able to really sort of make a hydrogen industry work. Of course, in the state of Queensland, there's the CQH2 project. It's got a consortium members involving Stanwell, the Queensland Government, a bunch of other organisations that will all be very familiar to people in this room because they come from this part of the world. So with that, I might hand over to our next speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Smith-Howdle. And next, I'd like to invite Mr. Carmody, CEO of the Port of Newcastle. The Port of Newcastle is developing the district dedicated to the clean energy and aim to become the hydrogen hub and for your state. Yes, so Mr. Carmody, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you, Excellency, for the invitation to participate in HENCA Tokyo 2024. Next slide, thank you. Look, the Port of Newcastle is strategically located on Australia's east coast. We contribute about 48 billion Australian dollars to our economy. We are the world's largest exporting coal port, and Japan is our largest trading partner. So for us, we have been saying now for the better part of 6 years, we don't have a choice. We must transition. If you are the world's largest coal port, you're probably all aware in this room that coal doesn't have the future that everybody thought it did a decade ago. Now, we are lucky. We do about 152 million tonne of product a year, 25 different products. The channel already handles the largest ships in the world in the Cape-size coal ships, and it's only 50% utilised. So put that in numbers, we do about 4,500 vessels a year. We can do 10,000 without any capital dredging. That becomes incredibly important when you think about the things that you want to do in the future. We have 388 hectares of land and almost 400 of it is empty. And again, it's one of the few ports in Australia where we have so much land just sitting there ready for development. So as you can imagine with these opportunities, it made sense that if we're already a major exporting energy port in Australia, that clean energy would have to be part of our future. So we've allocated 220 hectares of land, which you can see outlined in white up in the top left-hand corner there, towards the clean energy precinct. In that site, we'll be able to do production, storage, domestic distribution, transmission, and ultimately export to our Asian markets. The project is supported by the Australian Government. We already have $100 million of Australian Government funding to prepare the site for production. We currently have 2 shortlisted projects at the port for the Hydrogen Head Start funding in Australia, which is $2 billion this year and another $2 billion next year in subsidies. The main things that we already have at the site are access to power. We have 330 kVA power lines which can be upgraded to 500 within existing infrastructure. We have water and we have obviously berths, we have the channel, we have the roads. We also have rail, much more important than some of the other products we do, but I think it will become important as we move into ammonia and hydrogen. And most importantly, because we have been 25 years exporting coal to Asia, we have an incredibly educated workforce in the energy markets. And that's all underpinned by the University of Newcastle, which is actually one of the leading universities in the world in energy research, development and training. So we have the ecosystem. If you move to the next slide, thank you. And the next one after that. Next slide, thanks. That's the ecosystem that we operate in. So we are surrounded by the renewable energy zones, hydrogen energy hubs, firm capacity generators and industrial energy consumers and manufacturing locations, a number of hydrogen and ammonia future projects, and as I say, an education sector that has been doing energy for the better part of 23 years. Now, all that ecosystem we see there is exactly what we just heard from the Hydrogen Council, what we heard from Her Excellency at the start. We all know that no government and no private corporation can do this by themselves. All those parts there on that map have to come together, and that's just our ecosystem in Newcastle, let alone Australia, let alone Asia, and let alone the world. But it's when we all come together that we achieve that. It's why the Port of Newcastle spends so much time here in Japan and in Korea and in Taiwan and in China, our 4 major energy markets, and they will be our future energy markets. Now, the interesting thing with the port is that we are not only going to be a location for the production of clean energy, that's 220 hectares can do about 1.6 gigawatt of clean energy, but we are also a cyclic economy. The Port of Newcastle is also the main location where all the renewable energy components for New South Wales will come in. You heard the Secretary of the Department earlier say that there's 5 renewable energy zones. We support 4 of them. So over the next 7 years, we will bring in 9,500 wind turbines and some 30,500 components for renewables in New South Wales. That's just the first 7 years, and these projects will go on for 23 years. So the importance of ports and the importance of providing that infrastructure both to create for import purposes and then export opportunities is at the centre of everything we do. And we build on the 23 years that we have had trade with Asia to know our industry, know our partners, and ensure that when the coal declines, whatever day that is, the Port of Newcastle is no longer the world's leading coal port, we are just the world's leading energy port. You go to the last slide, thank you. I won't bother with the benefits. People make up numbers all the time. Next slide, thanks. Keep going. Artist's impression, if you like. Not going to be like that, but love the picture. Next one. These are the benefits. Look, the main one here, I think, for this sector, there's 660,000 tonne of domestic emissions, and there's 1 million tonnes of international emissions due to what we export to the world that would be taken out by a clean energy precinct at the Port of Newcastle. And last slide, thanks. So thank you very much. I hope to see corporations and governments in Port of Newcastle.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kamodi. Next, I'd like to invite Mr. Kanehana, Chairman of the Kawasaki Heavy Industries. And the Kawasaki Heavy Industries KHI has been working on the various international initiatives to develop, create a global supply chain. Mr. Kanehana, floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Ohira-san, for the kind invitation. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kanehana. I'm the chairman of the board of Kawasaki Heavy Industries. And until June this year, I was a co-chair of Hydrogen Council with Sanjeev-san. And last year and the year before, I was invited to this HENCA as a co-chair of Hydrogen Council. So after I finished my term, I thought I will not be invited today. So I feel sad, but Governor Koike-san, thank you very much for inviting me tonight as a chairman of the Kawasaki Heavy Industries. I'm very much delighted to attend this, the HENCA, to make a presentation. So let me introduce our activity, Kawasaki's activity for liquefied hydrogen supply chain. Next slide, please. Kawasaki has a long history of handling liquefied hydrogen. And as you know, the space rocket, the fuel is liquefied hydrogen. And in Japan, so-called the Tanegashima Island is a space rocket launching place. And we built the liquefied hydrogen contained tank with the supply system more than 40 years ago. So we know how to handle the liquefied hydrogen, and we are the conglomerate company, and we are handling like a ship and gas turbine and the various things. So from the production of hydrogen and liquefy it, load on a ship and unload and store on a tank and usage, we do everything we can do in our company. And we did some pilot project 2 years ago. We built a ship called the Swiss Frontier. It's a world first liquefied hydrogen carrier. And we already made 3 round trips between Australia and Japan. And we produced hydrogen in Australia, liquefy it, put on a vessel, and bring it to Japan. And we use that to generate the power. So we completed the pilot project. Next slide, please. And at the moment, we are focusing on hydrogen can be made in various ways. And today, many people say the green hydrogen. But at the moment, the green hydrogen in some area is very costly because the renewable energy is very high cost in some area. So we are focusing on blue hydrogen, which we produce hydrogen from the fossil fuel with carbon capture and storage. Because the cost competitiveness of the blue hydrogen is much cheaper compared to the green hydrogen at the moment. Next slide, please. And this slide shows the price comparison, cost comparison between green and blue. So as you can see, the blue hydrogen at the moment is very cost competitive, even compared with the green hydrogen. Of course, in the future, the ideal situation is all hydrogen can be produced by green. So if the renewable energy cost can be reduced, the most of the hydrogen will be generated by renewable energy. Next slide, please. And I'd like to introduce a recent activity of Kawasaki. June this year, we made agreement with Daimler Truck. Daimler Truck is they're looking for liquid hydrogen supply chain in Europe, because the Daimler Truck already completed the heavy truck with a fuel cell with liquid hydrogen on board. Because the liquefied hydrogen, they can run the truck more than double compared to the gaseous hydrogen. So they decided to use liquefied hydrogen for the truck. So they need a supply chain for the liquefied hydrogen in all over the Europe. And they found us, we built a world first liquefied hydrogen carrier. So they asked us to carry the liquefied hydrogen from the place, any place in all over the world who can produce the cost competitive hydrogen. Next slide, please. And also, the most important thing for us to promote hydrogen in the world is we need to cooperate with private sector. And the company sometimes says the good things for the company. So the public sometimes scratching head, are you telling the truth? But if the state, like the Tokyo Metropolitan Government says that we need to use the hydrogen, so public will believe that word. So we need a cooperation with the public sector to promote hydrogen. Next slide, please. And June last year, the Metropolitan Tokyo Government and Ota World and Kawasaki City signed the agreement to promote the hydrogen in this region. And also we made the agreement with Kawasaki City in September last year to promote the hydrogen in the Kawasaki area. So in this metropolitan area is highly concentrated industry using chemicals, powers, everything. So a lot of opportunity to use hydrogen in this region. So I hope from this region, the promotion of the hydrogen will spread into Japan and to the world. So we can expect the hydrogen start from this region. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much, Mr. Kanehana. And next, I'd like to invite Mr. Tanaka, a General Manager of the Hydrogen Business Department in INEOS Corporation, and INEOS also promoting and develop the international hydrogen supply chain that integrated the supply and the demand sides. Tanaka-san, the floor is yours.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Ohira-san, for your kind introduction. As introduced, my name is Tanaka, and I am Hydrogen Business Department Manager of ENEOS. First of all, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to Governor Koike for all your support in pursuing our hydrogen business activities. This includes hydrogen refueling stations as well. ENEOS Corporation have a slogan to support today's normal and to take the lead for tomorrow's normal. Many people may know about ENEOS Corporation for operating gasoline stations in Japan. In addition to that, ENEOS also operate hydrogen refueling stations. However, unlike having 12,000 gasoline stations in Japan, ENEOS only has 35 hydrogen refueling stations. Mogas stations has completely become today's normal, and now we are working hard to make hydrogen to become tomorrow's normal. Next slide, please. We are working to develop hydrogen supply chain by 2030. Our plan is to produce hydrogen in overseas countries where abundant renewable energies are available. Here, we are getting a lot of support from overseas government. For example, in Australia, we are getting great support from Queensland for us to produce hydrogen out of solar power and wind power. In Malaysia, we are getting support from Sarawak for us to produce hydrogen out of hydropower. After producing hydrogen in overseas countries, our plan is to bring hydrogen into Japan using MCH as hydrogen carrier. Then we will bring in hydrogen into our refinery locations. In the early stage of hydrogen society, we think hydrogen demand will ramp up starting from power generation and steel mills. Since our refineries are located in the middle of industrial complex, we think refinery can play a key role acting as a hydrogen hub, supplying hydrogen to those industries. Next slide, please. Here are some examples of our refinery locations where we are planning to bring in our hydrogen: Mizushima, Osaka, and Kawasaki. Especially in Kawasaki, this is a big industrial complex area. Haneda Airport, for example, is located very close to our refinery with only one river, Tamagawa River, in between the refinery and the airport. In Haneda Airport, we are working with Japan Airport Terminal and airport facilities. Plan is to supply to them the hydrogen to use it as electricity or heat purpose or the GSE vehicles. In Kawasaki, we are also working with JSE, KHI, and Iwatani to bring liquefied hydrogen supply chain into this location. In the early stage of hydrogen society, problem is that our hydrogen supply cost is going to be higher than customers' affordable price. It is our responsibility to reduce hydrogen price by implementing new technology and pursuing scale merit. However, at the same time, we think it is equally important to increase customers' affordable price. The way to do this, one example is carbon pricing. Another example is by implementing some additional value to the final products where hydrogen is used to produce this material. An example includes green steel and green chemicals. In the longer term, to make hydrogen self-sustainable, suppliers like us have to reduce the cost, and at the same time, price of the hydrogen needs to be increased. When our supply cost and customers' affordable price completely matches, we think this is the real beginning of the hydrogen society, where hydrogen project will be self-sustainable. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tanaka. In the view of the initiative of the industries, we will now move on to the second round of the panel discussions. Well, the theme of this round is a necessary action and for the spread of green hydrogen and public-private partnership initiatives. So, and firstly, and I would like to ask to Governor Koike, in response to the other participants and speakers' comments, please tell us again what the action particularly important for the widespread adoption of the green hydrogen. And also, please share your thoughts on the collaboration with cities, companies, and other organizations to accelerate implementation of green hydrogen.
Well, before responding to your request, I would like to thank all of you for such a great presentation that you are taking place. You are taking action to start a new HENCA, energy HENCA, new energy change. Well, thank you very much, first of all. And I also, the presentation by Mr. Kamodi reminded me to visit your Newport. Yes, I have a look, overlooked the Newport from helicopter. Well, it is clear that projects for deploying green hydrogen are being aggressively promoted around the world. And to accelerate the social implementation of green hydrogen, it is important to work with partners at home and abroad through public and private partnership. And Tokyo is deepening its cooperative relations with Yamanashi Prefecture. Yamanashi Prefecture is next to Tokyo, and Fukushima Prefecture is also close to Tokyo, and Nedo, where Mr. Ohira is working, and which are actively promoting green hydrogen and also encouraging the use of domestically produced green hydrogen. And specifically, we are promoting its use at hydrogen stations and for fuel cells. And Tokyo has formed an agreement with the state of New South Wales, Australia, to collaborate on the social implementation of hydrogen. And we will continue to work with other cities as well with a view to new collaborations, such as the establishment of a global hydrogen supply chain. And Tokyo is also working with the H2 Global Foundation to launch a hydrogen exchange, and we will leverage the foundation's expertise to conduct a trial bidding for domestic green hydrogen. And collaboration with the private companies actively advancing hydrogen project is also very crucial. And Tokyo holds roundtables with private companies transforming the insights gained at these events into the development of effective measures. By keeping a close watch on the latest corporate trends, we aim to explore the use of green hydrogen across various industries. And Tokyo ensures that the public and private sectors work together toward common goals in terms of the expansion of commercial hydrogen mobility and the promotion of hydrogen station development. And together, we will accelerate the initiatives needed for the social implementation of green hydrogen. And I would like to add, Mr. Kanehana, you are the regular participants and panelists. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So next, I would like to invite Mr. Lin. Thank you for connecting. And your state also expecting to become a large-scale hydrogen export hub to Japan and Tokyo in the future. Please tell us about the future development from the global perspective, the direction of the future initiatives, the challenges, and action to address them.
Thank you. As we've heard today, one of the primary challenges for widespread adoption of green hydrogen is the high cost, particularly the operating costs associated with production. I mentioned the work we're doing to develop renewable energy zones, which will significantly expand the renewable energy in New South Wales and bring down the price of energy. New South Wales also has a range of initiatives that create the right conditions for market-led projects to emerge. As I mentioned, our signature incentives are the green hydrogen electricity concessions and the renewable fuel scheme. The green hydrogen electricity concessions provide $1.5 billion in discounts to producers of green hydrogen to lower the cost of energy. And the renewable fuel scheme will require users of other fuels to acquire and equip a certain number of certificates to incentivize green hydrogen use and production. These are designed to close the commercial gap and help projects reach financial investment decision. Combined, these two initiatives can provide up to $5 per kilo in incentive value, making New South Wales made green hydrogen significantly more competitive with traditional fuels. Public-private collaboration is also essential in driving the hydrogen industry forward. For instance, the New South Wales government is facilitating a $100 million Commonwealth Government grant to the Port of Newcastle to make the port hydrogen ready, and we're working closely with Craig and his team to ensure that this funding helps transform the port into a major hub for hydrogen production, storage, and export. We're also working closely with proponents, some of them international, to support them to access Australian government grants to help make green hydrogen projects financially viable. Can I also acknowledge Mr. Lambert from Lind? BOC is a Lind company, and they're leading the development of the hydrogen technology hub in the Illawarra region of New South Wales, or Wollongong. New South Wales government has awarded over $28 million to the BOC hub project, which is a significant grant. This will include a 10 megawatt electrolyser, and it will produce the fuel to kickstart green hydrogen use in the New South Wales transport and electricity sectors. Projects like these will be critical pieces of our state's hydrogen infrastructure, and their success will be underpinned by our ongoing collaboration between public and private. In that spirit of collaboration and connection, I'd like to invite you all here to visit Sydney in November next year for the 2025 Asia Pacific Hydrogen Summit. This event will be a key opportunity to explore the latest advancements, forge new partnerships, and witness firsthand the progress being made in the hydrogen sector, particularly in New South Wales. So please come to New South Wales, and thank you very much for having me here today, and thank you to Governor Koike for the invitation to speak.
Thank you very much. Most of the us are looking forward to seeing your country next year. So next, and His Excellency Mr. Ricardo Rojas, Ambassador Extraordinary and Potentially of the Republic of Chile, will introduce Chile's national green hydrogen strategy via video.
Distinguished delegates, I am Ricardo Rojas, the ambassador of Chile to Japan. May I congratulate Governor Koike and the Tokyo Metropolitan Government for the organization of a new edition of the International Conference on Hydrogen HENCA Tokyo 2024. Our planet is facing serious problems due to climate change. Chile reiterates its commitment to progressive decarbonization of its energy sources, aligned with the net zero target of 2050. In this regard, we are transitioning to produce the clean and renewable fuels that the world requires. Thus, Chile plays an important role in the energy supply chain of this industry, providing relevant elements for achieving carbon neutrality, such as lithium, green hydrogen, and green ammonia. In 2020, Chile presented its national green hydrogen strategy, which aims to have 5 gigawatts of electrolysis capacity by 2025, to produce the cheapest green hydrogen on the planet by 2030, and to be among the top 3 exporters by 2040. Moving towards these goals, last May, we launched the Action Plan on Green Hydrogen 2023-2030 that implements the National Green Hydrogen Strategy. Chile and Japan share the goal of net zero by 2050, and we have in place the instruments to work together in this endeavor. Now, allow me to get into some details about our action plan. Chile has shown a serious pathway to energy transition. In this sense, our country launched in 2015 its first energy policy, which updated in 2022. In 2023, Chile submitted the initial agenda for a second stage of the energy transition, highlighting the role of renewable energies in the power matrix, and aligned with our commitments under the Climate Change Framework Law, in which our country aims for being carbon neutral before 2050. Between 2019 and 2020, Chile outlined a plan to achieve carbon neutrality and resilience by 2050. During 2020, Chile updated its NDC within the framework of the Paris Agreement, establishing new climate commitments at the international level. Within the plan to achieve carbon neutrality, green hydrogen and its derivatives emerged as a necessary and fundamental to decarbonize our economy, mainly in those energy-intensive uses that cannot be directly electrified. Thus, hydrogen and its derivatives represent an energy vector that allows bringing renewable energies closer to all energy uses. At the end of 2020, the Ministry of Energy published the National Green Hydrogen Strategy that defined the first guidelines for promoting this industry, establishing its basis and medium and long-term productive goals. Subsequently, last May was launched the Green Hydrogen Action Plan 2023-2030 that defines a roadmap for the 2023 to 2030 period, allowing the deployment of a green hydrogen and derivatives sustainable industry. Through this instrument, Chile expects zero-emission energy in the electricity sector by 2050, a reduction of 60% in annual greenhouse gases emissions from the energy sector by 2050, a usage of 80% of renewable energies by 2030, and a more than 2 gigawatt storage capacity by 2030, and more than 6 gigawatt capacity by 2050. The recently launched Green Hydrogen Action Plan 2023-2030 had the participation from a wide range of public and private sector players and consider concrete actions for this decade. The first stage, between 2023 and 2026, is designed to give adequate investment signals, standards, and regulations promote the strengthening of critical institutions and the implementation of an efficient permitting system, promote scientific research on the industry, and advance in tax and financial incentives for first movers, directly supporting their financial structures. The second stage of implementation from 2026 to 2030 considers the finalization of territorial planning instruments and normative regulation currently underway, the articulation of productive linkages and local development, in addition to having human capital prepared at the time that industry requires it. At the international level, our country has signed several instruments that seek to foster cooperation for the development of the green hydrogen industry. Chile hopes to continue with the openness and diversification of its investments, avoiding vulnerability and concentration in the hydrogen market. Chile is expected to achieve the goal of materializing the first green commercial maritime tour in Latin America. In that sense, Asia plays an important role as a possible route in that commitment. Currently, our country is carrying out some feasibility studies to identify some aspects to consider in the implementation of these green corridors. In that sense, during this year, we have been working on a study on development for transportation of copper and sulfuric acid, and in 2025 is expected to carry out a pre-feasibility study for aquaculture. Finally, I would like to show some green hydrogen projects that have been developed in Chile. They show the work that is already being done in our country related to the green hydrogen industry. As you can see, they have been developed along the country. 5 of them are already in operation, the yellow ones, and the other 5 are in status of environmental assessment. In summary, Chile advocates to put into action their instruments and interest in developing the green hydrogen industry in order to move forward to achieve the global commitment of decarbonization by 2050. To conclude, I would like to wish you all a successful discussion in these important matters so relevant for our future.
Thank you much. So next, I'd like to ask Dr. Saria. And according to the analysis, and Indonesia as a listed potential hydrogen supplier within the East Asian regions. And could you tell me what direction your future and efforts, how do you plan to build an international hydrogen supply chain, collaborate with other countries, including Japan?
Thank you for the question. So there are several challenges and strategies for developing green hydrogen in Indonesia. We identify at least 4 challenges that need to be followed up with strategic action. First, absence of regulation governing the development of green hydrogen in Indonesia. Until now, there has been no government regulation or policy related to hydrogen development schemes, either as a transportation fuel or as energy storage and generation. Some regulations such as standard, safety, and incentive are needed as strategic action. Green hydrogen production cost is still not competitive. Factors that contribute greatly to the price of green hydrogen are the uncompetitive price of renewable energy electricity and the price of an electrolyzer, which is quite expensive. Indonesia seeks to develop massive use of renewable energy sources to decrease the price of electricity from renewable energy generators. Besides the supporting the development of domestic electrolyzer technology, has the potential to reduce the price of hydrogen production. 3, hydrogen supply is still dominated by coal and natural gas. The development of green hydrogen from clean energy sources of renewable energy is still being explored both in the world and in Indonesia. In our strategy, Indonesia will develop domestic green hydrogen production as a gradually and supporting the development of technology to produce green hydrogen more efficiently. And the last, infrastructure needs to be developed. Indonesia will study infrastructure needs like pipelines, long-distance transport, and refueling station. In opening up the domestic market, an infrastructure will be built in an integrated manner to achieve an economic level. Next, please. The realization of a thriving hydrogen ecosystem in Indonesia hinges on the collaborative effort of all stakeholders. Public education is pivotal in raising awareness and garnering support for hydrogen initiatives. Industry players are essential for driving pilot projects. Commercialization effort and the implementation of hydrogen technologies. Also, government bodies are responsible for providing strategic direction, formulating supportive policies and regulation, and also fostering an enabling environment. An enabling environment for investment and innovation. Academic and research institutions are crucial for advancing hydrogen-related research and development, and also facilitating technology transfer and nurturing a skilled workforce. I think by fostering spirit of cooperation and actively engaging all stakeholders, the growth of the hydrogen ecosystem can be accelerated. Maybe that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Finally, I will invite Mr. Exenberuga. H2 Global is building the cooperative relationship not only within Germany, but also within the other countries in the EU and around the world, and to foster a hydrogen market. Well, what direction do you think effort need to take the launch and market for the green hydrogen in the future from the perspective of international collaboration?
Thank you very much. First of all, H2 Global is designed as a foundation because a foundation has no owner. A foundation is just owned by itself. So we can really act on different behalves. So we can act for different governments. INEOS is one of the companies who are supporting us heavily. So we are really grateful for that. Chiyoda Foundation from Japan is another one. Linde is another one. 72 companies altogether are supporting the initiative of H2 Global. It was mentioned now several times. Green hydrogen and green hydrogen derivatives are not competitive. So we need to support. And on the other side, this is something I would really like to mention. If you want to stimulate a market, if you want to support a market creation, it doesn't need to be done now until the whole market is there. So we need to figure out what is the tipping point. Until this tipping point, the market needs to stimulate it, and then the market will create itself. We had that with solar, we had that with gas, with LNG, with so many other technologies and with so many other commodities. So this is something what is, let's say, a common sense in market developments. We are cooperating, and this is said by Governor Koike as well. International corporations are key. H2 Global acts on behalf of different governments. The first auctions we executed was made for the German government because the German government wanted to have as much hydrogen imported as possible. We are doing that in so-called global auctions, so that means we are buying worldwide from the cheapest supplier. We're selling that into the German or into other markets. We did so now for the German government. We are running now, or we are in front of running the next round of auction for the German government with a value of 3.53 billion euros. We are doing that, or we are preparing that now for the Italian, Austrian and German government. It will be a so-called joint contribution auction. We will do that on behalf of these three governments. The Dutch government decided already to use H2 Global for their own market ramp-up, so that means we are doing that for the Dutch government as well. For the European Commission, we are responsible for the subsidizing of all imports into Europe, so we are the so-called international leg of the European Hydrogen Bank. The German government did last year something, I would say this is very important now for the international, for the global market ramp-up. They decided to use international cooperation for stimulating the market for hydrogen worldwide. Minister Habeck, our Vice Chancellor, has sent out 3 letters to Canada, to the United Arab Emirates and to Australia. He invited these countries to join the initiative of H2 Global. And what we are doing right now, all 3 countries agreed on, what we are doing right now is doing auctions on behalf of these countries. To give an example, for Australia, the Australian government will provide 200 million euros. The German government will do the same. On behalf of both governments, with the amount of 400 million euros, we are running now auctions where the production has to take place in Australia. The offtake will take place in Germany. The first thing the Australian government asked us, if we are doing that for Germany, is it possible to do the same for Japan? And we said, of course you can, and this is something we can easily promote for you. We can easily define auctions designed for you. And this is now exactly what we are doing now with the Metropolitan Government of Tokyo, to look for ways how to support the Japanese market ramp-up, to define institutions like an exchange, to help what needs to be done to bring it on such kind of level. One last thing from my side. With money provided by the Bezos Earth Fund from Jeff Bezos, and with a lot of support given now by international banks, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, BlackRock, Deutsche Bank, Japanese banks like MUFG, and so on, we developed the concept of a so-called green market maker. This is H2 Global as a global platform where governments can put money in, where the private institutions, where private banks can put money in and support the market ramp up. This is the next stage of, let's say, of such kind of platform, and we are really happy to cooperate in that particular manner with the Tokyo Metropolitan Government. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And this concludes the panel discussion. And thank you to all the panelists and the speakers for your valuable and lively discussion. And I have the clear understanding now of the action needed to the importance of the green and clean hydrogen, and the importance of the public, private, international, the global partnerships. I would like to ask the floors to give a round of applause to all of the speakers. Thank you. And then I will now hand the floor back to MC.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ahira, and all the speakers. Regrettably, it is almost time to wrap things up. So finally, I would like to ask Governor Koike to sum up the discussion today. So Governor Koike, please.
Well, thank you very much, all the panelists, for such a variable presentation to enhance the HENCA, the hydrogen energy, to be the next generation, not next generation, the future or tomorrow new energy. Well, today I'm pleased to hear about the actions being taken to promote green hydrogen, as well as the advanced initiatives in the production, transportation, and use of hydrogen, and collaboration with Tokyo and Japan. And let us continue to strengthen public-private collaboration and work together to build a hydrogen supply chain while expanding the demand for hydrogen. And along with all of your messages, I'd like to affirm our shared commitment to leading the world, both environmentally and economically, as our joint message aiming to accelerate the social implementation of green hydrogen. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Governor Koike. And this concludes HENCA Tokyo 2024. Thank you all for your participation.
Thank you very much. May I add one thing? COP29 will be held in Azerbaijan next month, very soon. And it has been very meaningful to hold this conference at a time when interest in climate change is increasing worldwide. We had, in Japan, in Tokyo, we had so hot summer days. And the opposite, maybe you had some snow, a lot of snow in Australia. Yeah. So anyway, I'd like to actively disseminate the content of today's discussion at other international occasions as well. So HENCA, as I told you, that HENCA in Japanese means change. So I'd like to change the world with a new future energy with hydrogen. Thank you very much.